Hey, this is Sharp here with the Kicked Out at 2 Dynamite review for AEW Dynamite from March 10th, 2021. I'm joined here with Chris and the returning Quags. How you boys doing?
Good.
Doing good. I have a kid now.
Woo, woo. We got baby Carl. We're gonna get baby Carl in the review. If they could have -1, we gotta have baby Carl.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll get him in here at some point. He's eating at the moment, so he's a little preoccupied. He's too Hollywood for us, but he'll be here.
He's too Hollywood already. I like it. Congratulations.
Thanks, y'all.
All right, so before we talk about Dynamite, I thought real quick we would catch up on just any overall thoughts from Revolution that was on Sunday. Let's not go through match by match. Let's just talk about anything major, and I'll start out. Obviously, the big takeaway was how bad that explosion was.
Oh, no.
Which we'll talk about. We'll talk about at length. I feel like during this
we'll
podcast.
talk about that at nauseum. So let's save that.
Yeah.
My biggest note with the pay-per-view was I thought it might be gimmick overload. It was absolutely gimmick overload. Real quick, just one random note. In the tag team battle royale, they had 3 different Dark Order teams. They had teams that were only on AEW Dark. They did not need to pack that in and make that a 28-minute match. Too many matches where it was like big move, kick out, especially in that women's match. That thing would not end. And my overall takeaway was when my favorite match is a cinematic match, which I'm very much not into those. That was my favorite on the whole show. So that kind of, it wasn't awful, but it just looked very amateur to me. What do you think, Quags?
Yeah, I think they just let themselves go way too long, which is kind of what you're getting at, like 28 minutes for that tag team battle royale. The women's match could have ended 5 moves earlier and nobody would have felt any worse about it. People probably would have felt better about it. In my mind, and just everything was just a little bit sloppy, a little bit too long, too indulgent. It finished at 11:45 or whatever East Coast time, and I don't want to be too curmudgeon-y, but that's late. Like, that's a long show, and I just felt like it's one thing if it's a long show and it's just for the sake of argument WrestleMania, right, or All In or whatever the flagship show is. But for it to be a sort of a random pay-per-view that goes that long and there's not really a lot to it, I was disappointed in that.
Yeah, I agree. Anything I'm watching, if it's like going to midnight, it's already just like a struggle. Not saying we're all early birds here, but like I feel like kind of the light at the end of the tunnel is just ended at like around 11. That's always like a perfect time. They relied too much on the gimmick matches. It didn't work out. I think like the ladder match, they were like
the ladder match was really clunky to me.
Yeah, it just seemed like spot, no flow, and I'm like, okay. And then
sloppy, and just so sloppy. Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but
no, you're right, because Pentagon did come back, and Pentagon just like there was a bunch of botched moves. No one looked like their timing was right. It was
it just seemed like it was weird. It was just not flowing.
The story we were supposed to take away from that was Pentagon apparently now, like, not to get into Wednesday, but was going to take on Cody, right? And like is all pissed at Cody. I didn't get that at all on Sunday. I mean,
and with that match too, I saw some people on Twitter and whatnot saying, "Oh, that brass ring, that's hilarious." I think that's every time they try to take a shot at WWE, I'm like, just put on a good show. You don't have to mention the competition ad nauseum. It makes you look like a second fiddle.
We're watching you because you have good wrestling, and we don't need you to reference like the big company. It's just it's stupid. It's like little brother syndrome a little bit to me.
It's essentially what it is. What did I text you guys? I kept thinking of Sonic the Hedgehog the whole ladder match. I was just like, what is this? And they're like, the brass ring. And I'm like, okay.
Make it a big thing. Make it a big, like, something that holds like an actual cool looking brass ring, like a real, not a giant, right? Sonic the Hedgehog. You nailed that. That's exactly what it looked like.
That's all I was like thinking about. I don't know. It just didn't flow through. The cinematic match was really good. I actually liked that a lot.
Yeah.
And I actually am a fan of cinematic matches just because it's different. So as long as it's different and it's good, I enjoy it. So I think they were both doing really well with that. Obviously we'll get into the main event. I was so bummed. It kind of reminded me of like Game of Thrones, bummed, as in loved Game of Thrones. Final season was such a dud. I honestly felt like the Moxley and Omega match. I actually liked the match. I actually liked
Yeah.
the explosions that, and like I feel so bad from there, like putting through the body all this pain and all that stuff. And of course, like literally they got to the finish line and they just fell flat on their faces. And it's not even their fault. But like what we just talked about like a couple of weeks ago or whatever,
It's not
like
the wrestlers' fault. It is their
yeah,
fault, though.
yeah. I mean, but no, I'm talking about like the production. It's just like I think I read that they tested it, it worked, and then it was just a dud. And like, I get it. It's a laid back environment. Like, as well, we're not part of that environment, but like, I know that they're definitely way more easygoing.
Hmm.
But like, you got to put your foot down something. Like, I heard
Yeah.
Omega was very furious about it because it is frustrating. Like, it just, it
So
was,
Chris,
what's that?
that was the exact thought I had, was that at WWE, like a whole department would get fired for
Yeah.
that. And the
Yeah,
same
Yeah,
thing
exactly.
when we talk about like the audio interference that happened on the East Coast feed for Dynamite, I had the same thought. Like some Vince would have like walked in and punched somebody in the face. And why do I need to? And by the way, I'm not even really thinking about WWE until you have this brass ring hanging
I
above that
know.
everyone understands to be this reference. So you basically set yourself up to get yourself into trouble.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm so happy that AEW is what it is and is that environment for everyone. But at some point, like you have to have folks be accountable for that kind of thing. So I don't know, going forward, like we'll see if it happens again, right? That's the
Yeah.
big test. But
No,
that was so disappointing. And you know that they can do a good amount of it. Like the barbed wire bat was awesome when that
yeah,
came
that was
out,
really
and
cool.
like that was one of the biggest like explosions, quote unquote, of the match. But to have the end be I've been saving this one. I almost texted it to y'all, but it was less intimidating than Kane's entrance,
Oh yeah.
basically.
It was less intimidating
Yeah.
than the gender reveal for Cody's baby.
Yeah, dude. Just something just didn't go right. Like just literally they were right there. If they just had a giant explosion, the people will probably be raving about it, saying, "Oh wow, they put their body through whatever." Even if that's not your cup of tea, that's fine. But it's like Eric, you said before, like it's like when they mess up on like going to commercial break or whatever, and and you said like, oh, it's charming, but now like all these
It's
things are
not
adding
very
up to me.
charming anymore.
It's not charming. We've gone
It
past
just looks
charming
bush
now.
league now.
Yes,
Yeah.
bush league. I'm just like, they're very good, but just tighten those things up. You'll be surprised how like professional it will be, just tightening all those little things up. Except that wasn't little. That whole little explosion.
All right, let's get into Dynamite. First match was Ray Phoenix beating Matt Jackson in about 15 minutes with, I don't know what his finisher's called, but it's some type of pile driver. Chris, what did you think of the match?
Very fun. Ray Phoenix is on fire. He's insane. Every time he's out there, it looks like he's like going like 100 miles an hour. And I think they're definitely just putting him through. I'm kind of glad that like it's not some like emotional go into storyline. It's just like very good wrestlers just going at it and just being competitive. And that's like the whole story you need. But I thought Ray Phoenix is great.
I totally agree. I thought the match was awesome. It was a little bit odd to see like them just doing solo match, like especially Matt Jackson, who you almost never see by himself, or Nick by themselves, but it was great. Yeah, the only like minor critique I had, and this is just shows how good it was at one point Ray Phoenix did deliver like this awesome kick to Matt Jackson's head right after taking a super kick, and I was just like, okay, that seems a little bit weird. And they both, collapsed on the mat after that. And say what you want,
I
like
thought it was cool, but I knew what you're saying.
in
no
kayfabe,
selling,
I guess it's like he's got so much adrenaline, he could just do one more kick before he fell. But that's really, really nitpicking. I mean, they went. AEW knows how to start a show. That is definitely, they know to bring it out and like start off hot.
So I enjoyed this match a lot too, but I not quite as much as you guys. I thought the punches and chops looked absolutely brutal. When they started doing like a punching battle at one point, I was like, I'm not watching a fight. This is just two guys doing choreographed spots, which always takes me out of stuff. Quags, the thing you brought up, and also there's a part where Ray Phoenix had to beat the 10 count after getting Canadian destroyed twice, once on the floor, and he just managed to just jump to his feet and flop in. And I was like, I need a little more selling. I know this is more arcade style, right? Like opening match type stuff, which is great, and I still really did enjoy it, but there was things that took me out of it. Where if you can't throw a punch, do those forearms that seem to be easier. Do something different.
Mhm.
If you can't make it look legit, don't do it at all. But I did think it was right for Phoenix to go over too, so I like that.
Yeah.
Me too.
All right, so then we had the first acknowledgement of the
Snafu.
explosion. Yeah, Kingston and Moxley were kicking back, drinking whiskey. They joked about how bad the explosion was. Moxley had some funny lines saying he had like a better volcano in his third grade like science fair or something. Kingston said the reason he didn't move when the explosion went off, something where he like blacked out because he had like an anxiety attack, thinking back to when he was almost going to get sent to prison. Then Moxley said, didn't win the title, but gained a drinking buddy. What'd you think, Quags, about this attempt to cover up what happened?
I have in my notes, what? LOL. Like, just really? I mean, just a weird angle. They're selling the hell out of it, both of them. And Moxley is, especially his character, and I think just Jonathan Good as a person in all his previous wrestling iterations is good at selling that kind of thing. But man, what a mess. I hate that this is what they're going with for this, which we'll talk about more later with Kenny and everybody. But yeah, it was fine what they were doing. I mean, all power to the wrestlers, but they are in such a bad spot trying to explain this.
Yeah, it's like, this is why I actually got even more bummed when watching it. Like, not even just like staring at it like, wow, that really just was terrible. But then just knowing, I'm like, and I appreciate this way AEW does. They don't make us feel like idiots, as in like, okay, we know they're not going to pretend that like, oh, this was some giant explosion and make us feel like morons, knowing that it's not. But I was just cringing of like, oh, like, what are they going to do to like talk about this? And then we're going to have to hear it of saying like, oh, the reason why and stuff, knowing that it was such a flop. So I was kind of not dreading, obviously I enjoy watching it, but just dreading, just knowing that was going to happen. I'm like, hopefully they just get through it quick and then it's behind us so then we can move forward.
So I had 3 big points with this, where I admired that they did what they did and tried. Then I instantly thought about Dana White in the UFC. When a card sucks, he goes to the microphone and says, that sucked. That was a boring card. If Tony Khan had just taken the stage and said, look, we shit the bed on Sunday with Revolution, with that explosion. We're going to be better. We will be better. Dude, people would be like, all right, well, at least they admit it. And like, I don't know about you could say what you want because it's supposed to be kayfabe, turning it into a storyline.
Yeah, it's scripted. You had to go with the story. You can't just say it sucked and then just like pretend it's fine.
So, but there's 2 other things in this that bothered me. Moxley said that Kenny was the better man that night. He didn't. He wasn't. He won because his 2 guys interfered and helped him. He wasn't the better man. And the other thing was, and people are praising this on Twitter, and I vehemently disagree, that they were talking about how Kingston opened up a dialogue about mental health because he had like a panic attack. First of all,
What?
Yeah, people are like praising it for that reason. I don't think this is an appropriate place to be talking about. I don't think in wrestling you should talk about religion, politics, any of that stuff. It's just a fun place for people to watch feuds where guys beat each other up. I thought that was so bizarre, like a weird. I don't know what else he could have said, so I don't know what to tell him to say. But
I'm kind of side more with the idea of just being like, that was stupid. What they're doing now is I don't know how many weeks they're going to try and drag out that they're thinking like it reminds me of when people are like, oh, like they're playing 4D chess, like they're so advanced, like you don't even know, and this is all going to come back around. To me it's like sad, and I don't want to have to listen to how the explosion was supposed to not happen.
Yeah,
I'm hoping that this just stops this week and just that's all I'm like.
Yeah.
Like I just knew this was going to happen. I'm like, they're going to give us some ridiculous answer and then we're just gonna have to kind of cringe and watch it, and then we're gonna have to move on. So hopefully it's quick.
All right, so let's move on because we had Cody Rhodes defeating Seth Gargis next.
Oh, Seth Gargis.
Absolutely terrible ring name. About a minute with the figure four. Post-match, Shivani was interviewing Cody, and surprised they got interrupted by Pentagon, who was at the Spanish announce booth, I think, which I didn't know Pentagon did Spanish announcing, if he did, or he was just hanging out there.
Just chilling.
With the help of a translator, he pretty much said that he was dissing Cody, and then said he wanted to hurt his arm even more so he couldn't hold his newborn child.
Oof, resonated
Cody,
with me. I'll tell you.
I was gonna say, Cody popped off, little pull apart. That was it. I'll just say, I like that he just won quick because no one wants to see Cody versus Seth Gargis. Some of the translator lines, like "I'm the Lord of Lucha Libre" were awful. That's WWE style like writing. Yeah, I don't really know how I feel about the hurt his arm more to hold his child. I still don't think that's something you would say when you're in an argument, but I thought Penta looked cool with his mask and his suit. I'm looking forward to seeing the match. So
I agree with that. I like Penta's lines, like not really speaking English as well. I still thought his lines were super compelling. Like the way that he was saying stuff was still, I liked it better when he was talking than the
Me
translator.
too. That was a note that I had too.
Yeah. And I like a quick pull apart. They did it, right? Everybody was there. All the wrestlers came, pulled them apart. Like Cody was pissed, kicked down a sign, whatever it was. I was into that. The Cody match against Seth Gargis, I was like, oh, why is Cody out here? Like not even realizing what was going to happen. Then after, I appreciated that. I like the promo bit.
I had no idea the guy's name was Seth Gargis. I'm like trying not to laugh that much just because I was so focused on the Penta and the Cody thing, which I'm really excited for. But then you just kind of threw a loop at me saying Seth Gargis. I'm like,
sorry,
what? I was like, who the hell is that guy? I'm just hoping
to see some more Seth Gargis down the line.
He's pretty big, but I was just cracking up, and I was just like, all right. I mean, I think they're listening to the masses about their squash matches, as in you don't need a competitive match every time. I'm really excited for this new feud. This is kind of like this is like a step for their blow off of the pay-per-views to provide new feuds and everything. Not to harp on the production, but I'm not sure if you guys noticed. I think that like one of the mics wasn't working, and Cody grabbed it, and I was just like, geez. I was like, well, first off, think on the fly, grab another mic and throw it in there. But this is also what me and Quags we're dealing with, like the TNT issues, debacle, the non-explosion, and then like the mic. It's just like it's just annoying. It just adds up a little bit, just so like silly. But super excited for the feud. Pence is pretty cool.
All right, then we had Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor in an arcade. Chuck Taylor challenged Kip and Miro to a rematch, saying that if they lost, Chuck would be Miro's butler forever. They said they're going to surround the ring with arcade machines, so it'll be some sort of, hardcore arcade. The match with guys throwing each other into machines. I'm sick of video game stuff. I thought it was funny that Orange Cassidy like put the car in park at the video game. I think that's what he's doing. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, that was great.
Also, why would Chuck be like, I'll be your butler forever? I don't really feel like Miro and Kip Sabian would be like, no way, we're versing you guys again. I feel like they would have just taken a rematch, just thrown that out there. I don't think you have to volunteer that.
I guess because they lost. Like, but I agree. Not unclear. It's very unclear.
Yeah.
Just in case we didn't get enough gimmick matches at Revolution, we got another one. I was just like watching this. I was just like, great. I was like, we have another arcade like style match. I was not a fan of this whatsoever.
I love Best Friends. I love Best Friends in Orange Cassidy, but man, do I want to see Miro? I want to see Miro throw them through a bunch of arcade consoles. Like, I would love to see that.
So my only thing that I thought really like a positive out of this was if they have that stipulation that he'll be his butler, Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor are going to win. They're going to pin Kip Sabian. They're already teasing like dissension between Miro and Kip Sabian. So if that makes Kip Sabian leave Miro so he can just be a normal beast, not with this kind of non-charismatic, just random guy, then I think that's for the better.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so then Shivani was interviewing Sting on the ramp and I say this every week, dude. This is every week they do the same thing with Sting getting interviewed, and this was Sting just saying Darby's good. Got interrupted by Archer and Jake. Archer said that even though he didn't win the ladder match, he's still the face of the Revolution, and if he's not given time, he's going to take it. Then they kind of just walked off, and then Sting just ended the interview anyway.
That was so stupid. I hated this. It's not funny. It's not funny. The interruptions. It's not funny.
Every time.
But like they're gonna provide new feuds. Like I kind of understand it on like this specific show. If it's a week after the pay-per-view, I kind of get it. But yeah, it's so
Yes.
much interruption. But like at the same time, why do you need Sting every week? I kind of feel like he asked for that, as in like I want to come in and do all this stuff. But it's just like you kind of know
Well,
you're a nostalgia type. Like we don't need it every week.
I was getting into what Sting was saying. That was what really annoyed me. Like I thought he was starting to really go off, and then like to get interrupted, I was like disappointed because yeah, I love that cinematic match for sure. Like I thought I agree at Revolution that was probably the best match, right?
Yeah.
Or the best moment at least. It's hard to say match because I'm sure they're cutting around at it. So, but so then I was excited to hear what he had to say, and like him and Darby have that whole kind of like, are they handing off the white and black face paint thing going on? And then for him to get interrupted for nothing, or like for very unclear what he was getting interrupted for, I just wasn't a fan of that.
And not only that, they just had Lance Archer as a heel 2 months ago, and then they were kind of having him tag with faces. Now he interrupts a face and kind of acts like a heel.
I like him better as a
too
tweener.
much. Yeah, but I don't know. They're just like dancing back and forth now.
No, as in I'm like saying like that makes sense. As in like, why do they put him back as a heel? At least in this kind of interview,
Well,
where
we'll see. Yeah,
I don't know. It's getting kind of confusing. I did like that they didn't ram Sting and Darby down our throats. Like I feel like that was like such a thing. Like I was kind of worried after this match. I was like, are they gonna like tell us that they're like father and son or whatever? Like it just it was just getting so much to the point. Sometimes like people like can be friends, but then they could just go off and do other things. So I was kind of happy that it's just, hey, Sting's doing his own thing, Darby's doing their own thing, and they're just mutual friends or whatever. That's a thing.
Yeah. All right. So then after we had Ethan Page defeating Lee Johnson in about 8 minutes with a razor's edge. After the match, Page would put the boots to Johnson. QT Marshall just didn't help, so Dustin ran down to intervene. You guys take it away with the audio issues because on my stream it was fine, but it was just playing a basketball game over it or something.
So it sounded like it started during Ethan Page's promo before the match. It sounded like the in-arena feed of a basketball game. So like if you go to like a Sixers game and the guy's like, Joel Embiid 4-2, and then they play defense. And then, you know, or when the Sixers make a free throw and it's excellent, you know, the dude from The Simpsons. So it was all those kind of cues, no commentary, and it was mixed in with the audio feed from Dynamite. So my theory is that TNT plays basketball games, and at some point they had some NBA feed from somewhere. Maybe it was from TBS even, just like the Turner family of networks, and it just got crossed wires basically.
Yeah, I think that's what kind of Tony Khan said. I think that's what he said. Similar thing happened on Twitter or whatever.
Yeah, and he put like the whole match on YouTube as like hey, sorry this happened.
Oh, because everyone's gonna be rushing to see Ethan Page versus
dude.
Well, I'll tell you who's probably the most pissed about this is Ethan Page.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know, man.
I don't. It doesn't bother me that much, and I thought he did a good job at the end of being like, "No, I'm ruthless. Like I'm gonna stomp this guy out." That was kind of cool. I that's the most I took away from it. But yeah, he did. His promo was totally ruined for the East Coast feed, and yeah, it was just a mess.
I'm a big fan of Ethan Page. I think like his body of work when I watched him like at Impact stuff, I thought he was good. I thought this would be a good get of like, hey, not getting a WWE stole away. bring this guy in, and it looks better with them if they now he could be considered like homegrown talent and stuff. So aside from the audio issues, because if it's TNT's like fault, like I actually kind of understand where Tony and AEW will coming from. Like, don't bite the hand that feeds you, as in like, okay, if they messed up, like what can we do? Like we just go from there. I don't know about this QT Marshall heel turn. They had it like he ditched his
Yeah.
partner.
Like, let's be honest, no one gives a shit.
I don't care. I know. I when they were like
could
at
care less
the-
about Lee Johnson, QT Marshall, and they're like drawing.
I
the
just
stuff.
have in
was
my
like,
notes. I was trying to picture one person in the world being absolutely devastated that QT Marshall did not help.
Oh my gosh.
Just throwing shit at his TV. QT.
yeah, the whole
how?
like I like Cody, the whole Nightmare family.
Yeah, I have a
It's not
problem
that
with
great
it.
either.
I think it comes off, at least to me, a little bit, as in like I know they're trying to build their school, whatever. It comes off a little bit saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, come to our school. We'll get you a spot on TV or something like that." I'm not saying
Yeah.
that's what they're doing, but it looks like it, because like I could care less about Lee Johnson or I don't even know the other guys. It's just like a lot of
Speaking of
beginner
which,
stuff.
Ethan Page, 8 minutes to beat Lee Johnson. Are you fucking kidding me? His first match on Dynamite, and he beats a guy who's 1-29 in 8 minutes.
Okay,
he should
so
have ran through him in 2 minutes.
Here's my
That's
thing.
bad.
They wanted him to go for a while because they could show that they can go, and they're trying to show that Lee Johnson is a player. Apparently, that's what they're trying to do. I don't
Yeah,
agree
That's
with
showing
it.
that
To
people. We
Eric's
know
point,
that these wrestlers can wrestle, man. We know that they can wrestle. Start building stars rather than trying to have good matches.
Dude,
It's
And
more
if records
important.
we
matter,
need
it-
Lee Johnson as a star way more than you will
Okay,
ever
you know
know.
what? You're right. You're right. I take back my point.
Chris just wanted to watch Ethan Page. I get it. It's fine.
All right. So then Alex Marvez interviewed Adam Page, who was riding a lawnmower.
Great.
Talked about
This is
how
great.
he'd been spending Hardy's money. Dark Order piled out and said, "Hey, can we hop on?" And they did, except for Alan Angels, because Page stopped him and
Perfect.
said, "Weight limit."
No, we have a weight limit. See, this was the kind of BTE stuff that I welcome on Dynamite. Like funny,
Yes.
very short, and also makes sense in story without needing to know like a ton of other stuff. Like, yep, the Dark Order and Adam Page are kind of getting along now. Adam Page is funny. He has all this money to spend. Also, shout out to charity. He said he gave a bunch of money to the
Yeah, I kind of like that
Jacksonville-
too. And he used
Yeah.
to be a teacher, so I kind of like that.
Yeah, that's pretty
that was
sweet.
great. I love this. I love Adam Page.
Yeah, this was fun. I was slightly worried when he came in a lawnmower, and I'm like, oh, okay, hopefully this isn't too over the top goofy and all that stuff. And then like when John Silver came in and said, hey, do you mind if we could add on a little bit more? And they're like, yeah, sure. And then he's like, come on, guys. I thought that was like hilarious. And then like, yeah, the BTE stuff of like when they make fun of Alan Angels is hilarious. That's the stuff that should be like actually on TV.
Yeah, and it was quick. That's to me, that's the most
Yes.
important thing. It was like 90 seconds of
Yeah,
this whole
short
thing,
and sweet.
I would guess. Right.
So
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of funny. I don't think Paige should be in lower card comedy stuff personally, but other than that, I thought it was enjoyable. Different segment
You sound
with
like
somebody
Chris.
else.
You sound like
Exactly.
Chris and me, worried about Adam Page. Now
They're
you're
worried about him.
I love Adam Page.
He's
too,
the
but it's just
poster
like,
boy. Don't ruin
Yeah.
him. But dude,
All
I
right.
think he'll be fine doing because like I said, the Dark Order stuff, people naturally gravitating to that because they actually want them to get. If they're forcing the Dark Order stuff, then yeah, I'd be more worried. But this just seems more of like kind of natural to me.
So when you say people, real quick, I just don't think the average person tuning in is going to be that amused by the Dark Order. I think that's more of an internet Twitter fan following. I just don't see them being that like endearing to the average person tuning in. But maybe that's just me.
It's just
I'm not the average person, as clearly I'm doing a wrestling podcast with you nerds, but I just remember when I first saw the Dark Order, and I think it was at one of the first AEW pay-per-views, and people are literally chanting "creepy perverts" at them.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
to think of how far they've come from, I mean, like with Brody Lee being a part of it, and then Brody Lee passing away, and now like that different angle that they have. And I know they're kind of trying to figure out like, are we ominous or is this kind of a comedy angle or whatever? But
I think they've got full comedy now.
they're so over though. Like I guess
Yeah.
that's kind of my point. And you might be right. Sharp that it's not as appealing to the masses, but at the same time, like if you were to go to an AEW show and like the Dark Order did this, like people, I mean, like in the as in the before times, and hopefully in a couple months, like there will
Yeah.
be shows we can go to again. Like they're gonna get big cheers, and like that's gonna get them
Yeah,
over more.
I'd agree with that.
So,
Yeah.
But like
so like they can be like silly, like we'll see. I think you probably have a point there, but at the same time, like you gotta like give them a little bit of leash, I guess.
yeah.
All right. So then we had Shivani on stage to interview Christian. But instead, I mean, this is not
Christian
technically an
Cage.
interruption.
Christian Cage, and
yeah.
get his name right.
All right. Give me a little leeway, by the way, with this next bit, because there was a lot.
Oh yeah.
Omega, Callis, Good Brothers came out. Callis hinted that they may have been behind the ring not exploding, maybe not. Either way, they won, because if they'd blown up the ring, Moxley and Kingston would be donezo. But because they didn't, it made them look like idiots. And they took away, I actually like the part where they said it took away like the hero ride into the sunset type moment. I thought that was clever. Kingston came out, threatened to beat him up if he didn't leave in 10 seconds. The countdown clock began like it did when the ring kind of exploded. Omega laid on the ground and told Don Callis to 69 him, and he did. Kingston started brawling after that. Numbers game quickly caught up. Moxley came in, and they chased off the Good Brothers. Then Christian came out, and it was only Omega left in the ring. They briefly brawled. Christian almost hit him with the unprettier, and then took a look at the title belt. I'll start real quick. First of all, why would Kingston come out alone? At this point, it's overkill in explaining what happened. Even though both explanations I didn't think were that bad, but I was like, I just stopped reminding us the bad part of the show.
Yeah, pass. Let's move on. Agreed.
Yeah,
let's move on.
And I'm hoping this is foreshadowing something with Christian down the line and not immediately, because I don't think anyone's that interested in Christian fighting for the title, and they're making it out to be that he's a way bigger star than he is.
I think, to be honest, like, yeah, we all just want to get this whole mess up of the explosion just out of the way. So I actually do think that Kenny Omega and company needed to explain something. We heard it from Eddie and Moxley's side. Now we hear it from Kenny's side. You knew it was going to happen. So hopefully this is the last of it. I actually didn't mind this so much. I think Eddie Kingston coming in was kind of like, it's just like he doesn't play like the smartest hand, but he's just kind of more of like, I'll just like go out swinging type of like a John Moxley type thing. And I actually really like Christian Cage in his old TNA days. I'm not like, it depends on who you're getting. You're talking about WWE Christian, who is kind of just like a good hand, or you're talking about TNA days of Christian Cage, who was actually, he really flourished and did extremely well there. If we get that guy in AEW, then I'll be like super happy with it. But I don't think your whole program should be the focal point around him. But hopefully that's a kind of like the line that they're going to go through.
Yeah, I hated that it was teased as Christian Cage and then not. I mean, just say Kenny and Don Callis are going to come out and like address the explosion or whatever. So now I'm thinking like, okay, so they set it up so just to make him look like an idiot. I don't know. Again, like this whole thing, like I'm not really buying it. They sold it really well, but they shouldn't be in that position to have to do that. Yeah, Kenny is but outside of saying 69 mate, which was just, that was a little bit much. He did a good job with the whole thing. I'm happy that Christian is there. I think it's kind of cool when they bring the older guys in to mentor younger guys. I was immediately like all my excitement about it though was taken away when he's holding the belt right away. His first time on the show. You know, in AEW, it's supposed to be more of like a wrestler's show, like records matter, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I'm not a stickler going to hold them to that kind of thing, but the new guy coming in and holding the belt and like Kenny being scared, Kenny's not a chicken shit heel. Like he's, you know, he might be kind of, you know, have some of those tendencies, but that's not his character. So to be so scared of who is really like an old guy was a little bit weird. And like Don Callis like ushering him away, like, go grab the belt. Like someone should have grabbed the belt in that scenario. Like Christian should have never been in the state to hold it like that. I just felt weird about all of this, and I thought it was too long. I just thought it went on for a while.
Yes.
The Eddie King, yeah, the Eddie Kingston part was fine. Like all that was fine to me. Again, like these guys are really trying to sell something for the company that they shouldn't have to. I think they're doing it as good of a job as they can be, but they are in a horrible position. Yeah, those are my takeaways.
Yeah, I think this dragged because they knew like, hey, this sucks of what happened at the end of the pay-per-view. Let's get it all out now. It's kind of like, let's just face the music. Let's just take this week just to really hit it home about what storylines are happening. And then hopefully next week it's just done.
Yeah, but okay, so when I watched this, I just thought about like my philosophy and what I do at work. If I ever do, which I rarely do, mess up, I tell my boss,
such a good boy.
I apologize. It won't happen again. I don't have to say, but the reason why I messed up was because someone knocked the papers over and then blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Explaining what went wrong, where it's like, dude, just take it on the chin and move on. We don't.
Which isn't even what they said. They wouldn't even go as far to say, oh, we set that up fake.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, they implied it, but they said we can't confirm or deny. Like, I get that was kind of coy, but if you're the heel doing that, wouldn't you lean into it? Like, yeah, we really made you look like an idiot, which I guess you could say at the end of the segment they did. But again, I think we talk about this all the time. They're giving the audience too much credit. Like, you really have to lean in. This is cartoonish. Wrestling is supposed to be a little bit cartoonish. And so that was stupid to me. Like did we do it? Didn't we do it?
Yeah, I know that was like weird. Well, do you guys think it would be better if like they like just off the top of my head just tape some backstage stuff of just like showing a random person like cutting off the wires of like the explosion and then doing that? Well, then like what do they need to do then?
When you watch when they have stipulation matches in the
and they don't
future,
deliver,
then you're like, oh, are we going to be not delivered again? No, you have someone walk out there, a minute promo. Hey, I'm going to be cut and dry. We messed up on Sunday. That explosion did not live up to the standards of AEW.
But
it's not going to happen again.
I agree.
If you break storyline,
I understand coming out clean, but everyone knows that like something messed up. But like, I don't want to sacrifice like the whole story of watching it.
Helps a lot more than you would think.
Apology is not going to fix
for them. For them, though. Yeah, but for them, like, I mean, the most important thing is they don't let something like that happen again. Because the most important thing is your management. Like you said, Sharp, if that happens at your job, you're like, it's not going to happen again. Now, if it happens again, like, you have some consequences, right? So,
sure.
All right, this reminds me of, I can't think of the name of the WWE pay-per-view recently, but Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens had that awesome match.
The handcuffs.
And then they totally botched the handcuffs. So I actually don't even know what they did at the end of that, because I've been watching SmackDown on FS1 on Tuesdays randomly, because I'm not watching wrestling on Friday. No offense to WWE, but anyway, but they probably ignored it, right? Like, so either you have to pick this, like, tweener thing they're doing is not working right here for me. And so that's why I hope that we just move on and don't. I'm with Chris on that. Like, just don't talk about it.
Just move on.
You know what's funny?
Why are we talking about this so much right now?
I was going to say, we should not be
we're doing it. We're doing it.
All right. Thunder Rosa, Ryo Mizunami, and Hikaru Shida defeated Maki Ito, Britt Baker, Nyla Rose. About 8 minutes when Thunder Rosa pinned Ito after, I think she has kind of like an Emerald Flosion type finisher. After the match, Britt Baker attacked Thunder Rosa, and put her in a lockjaw. Go Quags first. What do you think?
The only good thing about this was the beat down at the end. This match was like a total mess. That's all I have to say about it.
You didn't enjoy the evil pop singer or whatever she was doing at the beginning of the match. She was like singing whatever.
In our like wrestling group, our buddy Rob sent that clip, and I don't know. I was just like, I didn't think that was good.
I was just
the people on
confused.
Twitter were amused by it.
Eric,
It's funny. She's funny, but like that's not the place. Again, this is like BTE coming into Dynamite. Like it's not the place. Like know where to put your content.
Now, here's the problem is that she seems like a very like out there character, has a specific character. We have no idea what that character is. When she was singing, I was just looking at this. I was like, who in the hell is this person and why is she singing? And then like I see that she's flipping people off or whatever. I was just like, Eric, when you were even just listing this match, I was like proud of you for even just pronouncing every name correctly. And I couldn't even tell you every name of the match. I was just like, I know maybe two of the women. And then I'm just watching this as in like someone's singing, someone's choking someone else out with the kendo stick. Vicky Guerrero is screaming God knows what. Like I was just like, I felt like I was just watching like just a hurricane of just random stuff combined. And then it'll end off with Thunder Rosa Britt Baker thing, which that's been going on for a while now. So now I'm kind of like, that's the only storyline I understand. So tell me what's next.
Yeah, we didn't need like the 6 women tag match to have a Thunder Rosa Britt Baker match. Like, let's have that match. I'm cool with that match.
Yeah, just do that. Just do it again. Just you don't need this random hurricane. And also, by the way, what's bothering me so much, like I actually want to know that character who was singing or whatever, but she was like hitting Sheeta with like the
microphone. That was so bad.
It looked bad. Dude. It looked bad.
She was not even touching her.
And I was just like,
and it's a microphone that wouldn't hurt if you got hit like relatively hard with that. Come on.
It's a
wait, sorry.
No, go ahead, Sharp. No,
Thunder Rosa hit a spot that they all do where she just jumps off the top turnbuckle and they fall down like bowling pins. I can't stand that. When they all tumble down.
You sound like JR.
It's so, dude, it looks so ridiculous. They're all just
He's like, friends, foes will just hold hands and we'll catch someone who's going to come from the sky.
And I'll say there's a general thing. People complain about like, oh, why don't you focus on the women's division more often? If they had a WWE or NXT type women's division, I would be 100% on board. But if you have 2 to 3 women's matches on AEW, it's gonna get sloppy. They just don't have the talent.
That's what I was gonna say. If you like, you could have 2 matches with probably 4 of these women. Like the title match at Revolution, for example, was good. It went on way too long, like too many finishers. I'm glad that woman, I'm sorry, I don't know her name, not the champion,
You're not familiar with Ryu Mizunami?
No, not. Yeah,
and her thing where she did the like mime.
Chop.
But like, I'm glad that she was in the tag match. But like, why not just her against Nyla Rose? Like as I don't know, somewhere in the middle of the show or something, right? Like, just I don't know, man. Like, this is not good. This is not good. And it's not again, maybe not the wrestler's fault, but like bad booking, I don't know.
I just want to know more about the pop singer. I just want to get an idea.
Dude, just you have to follow her on Twitter, and then you have to watch AEW Tweet Storm, and then you'll know her whole story. That makes sense.
Then I'll get the whole backstory. That'll be good.
Yeah.
All right. Then backstage, Matt Hardy was interviewed and he was with Private Party, pretty much said in order to bring in more money, he hired some new people for Team Matt or whatever. But it was Butcher Blade and the Bunny. He hyped them taking out Dark Order together in the future. I'll start with this. They're literally just taking them away from Kingston because he's a good guy now and putting them with Hardy. This is such a random faction for the sake of having a faction. This is bad, in my opinion.
I said, did they hint at this before? And
no, just a random showing. I didn't care for it so much.
No one in this group has anything in common. Like, why would all these people be friends together?
Because it's a big money match, and they got to get paid.
They're going to get paid. He takes 30%. You're never going to know. You're never even going to notice it because you're going to be making so much money.
Okay, but like a real heel like him, he was like, yeah, I kind of like whatever. I have like a lot more money. He should have been like, I'm reeling from losing all that money in the match. Like that stipulation didn't mean anything. We already knew that, but at least sell it. Like,
well,
yeah,
he brought
another kid.
I guess the idea process was that he brought in a new team to have another income come in.
Sure, yeah.
They can't make any money until April 1st though. That's like
No,
the
yeah.
funny thing about it. Like that I was thinking, I was like, well, financially, this is not helping you at all. And he said, like, I can make it till April 1st. It'll be fine. I signed a new team so that we can pay the bills. I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense.
So how does that team get paid? I don't know. This honestly, it was just Butcher
really,
and Blade.
a good financial heel move would have been like, well, my fiscal year is different and my Q1 actually.
Yeah,
like,
Oh,
it
yeah.
was a different time frame.
See, Quags,
Anyway,
the
sorry.
problem you have is that you're using logic, where this segment didn't have that so much. It was just more of like what Eric said. Kingston's a good guy. Butcher and Blade are bad guys. They just moved him over to Matt Hardy. The only thing I'm hoping for this is just elevating the younger guys. I actually like Butcher and Blade as a tag team. They seem kind of like random hitman, but actually like them in the ring a lot. I think they're fun to watch. So seeing more of them, I'm fine with. Private Party, I'm kind of indifferent about them. They were fun. Now I'm kind of like over them. This whole, like, I know I'm not the biggest Matt Hardy fan in AEW, but hopefully if these guys get elevated, then that's fine.
I mean, I'm excited for this Matt Hardy character to run its course, kind of, because I like him way better with some of the other weirder stuff he's doing. This feels a little bit fine. Wait, shoot. Oh, they also pitched Elevation. That was the purpose.
Yeah, they
of
briefly
this.
said like we're gonna have a match on Elevation, which
Yeah,
that's a good thing. It's always good to pitch matches.
Yeah, have to do that backstage stuff. Why not?
Yeah, that was part of it. All right, let's talk about the fun stuff. This next one.
All right, finally we're getting this. All right, Darby Allin defeated Scorpio Sky about 14 minutes when he countered Sky's finisher into a roll-up. After the match, Scorpio kind of snapped and put Darby in a heel hook on his injured leg, and he just refused to break the hold.
Into what, Sharp?
Heel hook.
Into the heel hook? Oh, interesting.
Oh my gosh.
And then he
Quags becomes a dad and he has these dad jokes instantly.
And then they walk through the heel exit way or the entrance way or whatever. They love pointing that out. They're like, oh, we went through the other thing.
I actually randomly love that. Like, I like it way more than like a normal person should, that they have the two tunnels.
I like that they do that, but I don't think you need to acknowledge it.
No, you don't.
They think it's like a good like subliminal thing.
I just think it's like a yeah, no, it's actually why I like it, but I also like find it funny, not on national TV, but like when they do this stuff like on BTE, like they made a joke one time like, oh no, he went into the other tunnel, and I was just like, that's pretty funny. But yeah, it says no place on like the actual like television show.
What did you think of the match, Chris?
Oh, it was really good. I enjoyed this match a lot. Darby Allin's kind of hitting on all cylinders, being a champ and knowing that he wants to go through. Scorpio Sky, I think he was fine. I think it elevated him a little bit. I knew that beatdown as soon as he lost, and as soon as he was looking around, like after Darby Allin kind of gave him like, hey, good job or whatever, struck him on the shoulder, you knew he was going to beat him down afterwards. And like, I thought that they teased that he was like a heel going into that ladder match. So I kind of knew he was going to be the bad guy going into this. I just am not super invested in Scorpio Sky. It might be more of like a week to week thing, but it's just like I haven't seen him at all. I don't really see much character out of him. So hopefully that's good. But I actually like the match a lot.
I love the grappling in the match in the beginning here. Again, one thing that I really appreciate is when they change up the pacing of matches, and I thought they did a good job of that here. It was not like, oh, face gets their stuff in, heel gets their stuff in, then we kind of have a chaotic middle and then the finish or whatever it might be. In singles matches, there's less of a formula, but I really appreciated that. One note I wanted to say, I don't want to be in wrestling school the day they teach the German suplex. That always looks so awful to me when they just take the guy and
land on their necks.
I always think that those guys
I've heard someone explain it once about how like it's not as brutal as it looks, but I agree with you, dude. I'm always just like any false, like if you don't tuck your chin, I feel like you could just break your neck. It looks great. Like
yeah, it looks brutal. It looks great. I don't love roll-ups, but this one felt appropriate because it was a counter on a finisher, and feasibly you could say, well, Darby's studying up on Scorpio, so he knows like what to do if he's about to do his finisher. He knows how to counter it. Felt like a pay-per-view match, so much to the point that when it was over, I was like, wait, there's another segment after this, which of course, well, spoiler, also delivered to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love this. I mean, top to bottom, really good. I thought if I have a critique, it's wasting the whole brass ring face of the revolution thing on Scorpio Sky, but by turning him heel, you I mean, you kind of use it in that way. So I hope we get a promo from him. That's good. Chris, to your point, explains his character is something like, I'm the face of the revolution and I'm fed up with this. Maybe I didn't win the TNT title, but I'm coming for whatever. And then, you know, we can get a good match out of that. But yeah, I don't have really any bad things to say about it.
In a way, they're kind of like dissing WWE with the brass ring thing, and they're immediately having the person that won it lose. So it's like, okay, so he didn't grab the brass ring. But I will say, I agree with you, Chris. I think Scorpio is going to sound harsh. I don't think he's anything more than a really solid hand in the ring. I think he's where he should be in the card, and I just don't see him ever being like championship worthy personally, unless they could do some really good backstory type stuff with them.
I was at the one shoe, you have one shoe match. Okay. I was there in person in Philadelphia. So the guy can do it. He just
he just needs to blossom. There you go.
I think there was really good. What differentiated this match from everything else on the show for me was Darby's can sell extremely well. He limps when he's getting his leg beat up, which Phoenix and Matt Jackson turn on and off whenever they want. There was two things where Darby did a suicide dive and he got caught with a cutter that looked awesome.
Yeah.
He did the coffin drop and he got caught with a power bomb.
That was my favorite part.
That was so cool. I mean, and I'm actually more of a fan of roll-ups usually, but this made sense in terms of, I think Scorpio did come out looking good because he dominated the whole match and Darby won by the skin of his teeth with the roll-up, which I will say, other than the Joey Janela match, maybe they're relying on Darby getting his ass kicked for 75% of the match and just barely eking out a win a little too much.
Right.
But I did like this match a lot. I thought it was great.
I love when guys that wear the makeup, when it all gets on the other guy, like Scorpio pretty early on had like a huge black mark on his head from Darby's makeup. Intense. And it looked so cool. Like that gave it part of that pay-per-view higher upper echelon feel to me. Yeah, that was cool. Love that.
All right, let's get into the main event segment, and bear with me again with this one. This is a lot. All right, Inner Circle hit the ring for the War Council. Jericho suggested they add another member, but MJF interrupted, and instead he said it might be time to let someone go. Woo. Sammy Guevara came out, pled for Jericho to watch a video, which popped up of Guevara planting a camera or his phone, possibly. MJF entered with Hager, Ortiz, and Santana into that room and proposed on camera that he become the new leader of Inner Circle, to which everyone agreed. And when you cut back to the ring, MJF kind of sicked the three of them on Jericho, but they in fact turned back around. And I like Jericho to say, we don't talk to each other? Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
They're about to whoop
You think we don't talk to each other?
About to whoop MJF's ass. But MJF tells them he didn't actually want to take over Jericho's group because he's been working on one of his own. Lights go out for a little too long. And when they came back on, Wardlow, FTR, Tully, and
Tully takes a while to get out there.
Give him some time, man. Give him some time.
He can't hide under the ring. Sure. He can't hide
pretty much a beatdown ensued. Glass bottle over Hager's head. Both Santana and Ortiz got handcuffed and then pile drove. Jericho took a punch from MJF with the diamond ring, bleeding all over the place, brought him up to the stage, and Wardlow powerbombed him off through some tables. Quags, you want to go first?
Yeah, good way to turn. Like, different than everybody thought. Everybody thought that the Inner Circle would break up. Right now would be the time. I'm all for waiting, like letting the tension build, but also turning MJF and showing that he obviously was never happy being the underling. Yeah, Tully is apparently just going to keep on wrestling, which makes me uncomfortable. But the dude looks so good. I don't know. It's like a brain, like it melts my brain a little bit. Yeah, I appreciated it. Yeah, the lights were off for a little long, and whatever. MJF is such a good character. When he was sitting on the ropes, just watching
his
the
little
chaos,
perch, just like watching
that
what he calls.
like he's too good to even get into the mess, right? He's just gonna let everybody, including like a 70-plus-year-old man, like do his minute. So good.
Yeah, this was great. This was definitely like the highlight of the night. I'm like, okay, this is why I watch the show. This is how you do a twist. So like everyone could see that like when Sammy Guevara was going to show the video and then they're about to attack him and stuff. It's just like Jericho and MJF. They're just playing the game of Uno as in Jericho played the reverse card. But little did we know that MJF had his own reverse card. And
well, wait, let me step in real quick with that, because for a second that kind of bothered me, because I was like, so this was my logic when I really tried to sit down and think it out, was that MJF still thought they were going to turn on Jericho and whoop his ass. But then he would have revealed, hey, by the way, I don't even want to be with you guys. I got my own faction. So thereby like breaking up their faction from within by showing that they would turn on Jericho. And then
this is how I took it.
It's a little too much thinking for me.
Yeah. This isn't as like as intense as the Jacksonville Jaguar mascot debacle. I would say that one just didn't make any sense. This one made more sense to me. I understood. So basically it kind of just showed MJF knew that these guys were not going to turn on Jericho, as in like Jericho is looking at
that's
MJF.
What you guys thought.
Because to Jericho said,
no, so
interesting. Okay.
I thought he was ready either way. So if they turned on Jericho, great. He just beats Jericho up. Because what did he say? He said, we're going to give Jericho a dirt nap out there, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what he said. So he was ready for it. And then he would bring, like, if they did turn on him, he would bring his guys out and be like, and guess what? We're even stronger than you thought. And had.
So you think they would form like a giant faction?
That's my guess. I mean, MJF's ego knows no bounds, right? So he thinks he can lead everyone.
I think they'll probably explain this all next week. I think MJF will
honestly, I didn't think too much of it. It was just more of like when Jericho said, like, don't you like, how do you not know that like we obviously would text and talk? I kind of looked at that as like MJF is probably like, oh, I know you guys are going to text and talk. And like also I'm with the group. I know how you guys function, as in like you're going to pretend to be my friends and then turn around on me.
Yeah, that's
the
true.
way they all pivoted was so good. When they were surrounding Jericho and then they just turned the other way, like minor like choreography, stage direction thing that looked so good, and it was so believable.
Especially I'll say that too, and I there was a ton of good imagery with like Jericho crawling and reaching for the bat, and MJF stepping on his hand. That looked great. His punch did not look good with that ring.
No,
that clearly did not.
They wanted to make sure it was
it's hard. Punches are hard. Just actually,
MJF can throw them though. I was like, oh, that didn't look great.
Just ask Shane McMahon. Punches are hard.
we're nitpicking on these things. Honestly, I thought everything that they did was like just great. Especially we're kind of coming off of Revolution, and this whole show was a little odd of things not working out so well. Everything hit off on all cylinders. I even liked when MJF was like cowering in the corner, screaming, saying like, no, I didn't mean to do this or whatever. And it was just like such an MJF thing to do. And then he said, I'm building this on my own. Lights turn off. I'm like, oh, okay. And then we got FTR, Sean Spears, Wardlow is humongous. And we got Tully. And just them, like, even everything made sense of just smashing, like, Jake Hager is a monster. So they just smashed him with, like, the bottle immediately. So then they worked on the other guys and stuff. Just everything made sense all around. And Jericho taking a powerbomb off the stage shows how dedicated he is on it. And Eric, like you mentioned before, him crawling to the bat, that was pretty, like, awesome. Him just stepping on his hand and, like, ready to go. This is where MJF needs to be. He's not an understudy. Like, the Jericho MJF thing, I really enjoyed it. But I'm glad that it's not this gigantic slow build, because AEW is great with the slow builds, but at the same time, just push the story in, as in like we don't need 3 months of MJF hating that he's the understudy. We knew it, and now it's here, and now I'm excited for this new faction.
And it's cool they're doing this without the belt. they learned the number one lesson. Like when a feud is good enough, you don't need necessarily to have the
Absolutely,
belt.
Yeah. No, that's very
I'll,
true.
I'll just add a couple little one nitpick is that I really like them power bombing Jericho through the tables. They do someone going through the tables like that almost every episode, and it kind of diminishes what happened in this. Dude, Matt Hardy threw Alan Angels from Dark Order through a table the other week. The Young Bucks jumped off the stage through a table. So this doesn't seem as devastating or that big a deal when you've
Well,
seen
you
it
can
every
see
freaking week.
you also see the water bottles or whatever they have pop out under like
And they
the
had
cushion.
clearly, dude, they used this, the second angle they used was much more obvious that there was a crash pad, and that takes it away from me too. I'm not saying kill yourself, but use an angle where
Yeah.
you can't see it as well.
Or take a
These
bump
are-
you can take. Or take a
Yeah,
bump
exactly.
you can take.
Yeah. These are very nitpicky things because I
No.
really did enjoy
Yeah.
it as well. Because I really thought when this whole thing was going on, oh, this is so obvious that MJF's going to take over Inner Circle. So for them to do a logical
Yeah.
thing that still got really good heat, which is something I think that AEW struggles with, getting actual heat with villains that to make you
Yeah,
hate them.
that's
I
MJF's
thought it was
MO
very
right
well done. He's
And
the
also-
number one person in wrestling to do that for sure.
Yes. And also, we'd be remiss to not say this is AEW Dynamite, and you know how to end a show. You end it with the big brawl, and that's all you gotta do. Literally, they do that every
Yep.
week. Like, this was great, though.
Yep.
This was great. But the other weeks, I'm like, okay, let's
Yeah.
end it on something else.
All right, so let's give our rocket of the night, our top highlight of the night. I don't know. It might be, let's just say, is it unanimous, the final
Yes.
angle?
Yes.
Oh no, not for me. I like the heel turn for Scorpio Sky. I'm high on Scorpio Sky. I think I'm higher than you guys. So
I'm
I
gonna
was
just
excited that
step
he
out
did
now. See you guys later. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I loved him ending with dad jokes aside, like new dad jokes aside, I loved him ending with like the heel hook. Like I thought, and going through the other thing. I mean, like, yeah, I don't know why. I really like him. So
Match was great. Don't get me wrong. That would be my second.
No, yeah, that's my rocket was that, and then his turn, because I feel like let's see, there might be a good promo next week. I hope that
Might be
next
the layer in the
1 week
onion.
from now, I can tell you guys. See, I told you, or he does a horrible promo, and I apologize for it. So we'll
Your
revisit this in a
words.
week. Yeah.
All right. So what was your? All right. So Quags, what was your anchor or anvil? I don't know what we're calling it. I always forget.
We change it every week.
The whole it did get better as it went on, but the whole Christian was going to come out, but Kenny and Don Callis and all them came out. I was like, I was so turned off for the first 3/4 of that segment. You know what? No, not the first 3/4, the whole thing. I was just like, this is dumb. What they're doing is stupid. Like, they're not even saying, yeah, we did this so that it made
It's
them
like
look like idiots. That whole segment I thought was awful. Yeah. And Christian shouldn't be near the belt right now. Like, you need to put in your time a little bit. Like, this is supposed to be the
it's also Christian. It's not John Cena walking into the company. They were talking like him standing across from Kenny Omega was this dream match that we all like would place like a video game and be like, oh, what if Kenny Omega versus Christian? No one's ever thought about that. No one, like, it's too much.
Yeah, I'm also a little bit disappointed that Christian is not going to be like doing something with Edge. To be honest with you, like in WWE, like when he came back in. Yeah, like
that was really good in the Royal Rumble.
I don't know. I don't hate this as much as you guys do. I actually do you guys not watch Christian Cage in TNA? Like, you guys are just picturing
He's
Christian
good.
in WWE. Like,
he's
that's
good,
not,
but he's not a
who this
needle
character
mover
is.
though. But he's not gonna do anything. Dude, it's still Christian. He's talented and he cuts good promos, but he's just a guy and he's 47 years old.
Who is it? Like, Eric, we said this in one podcast, as in like when they said Hall of Fame worthy guy. Didn't I say that we're gonna get disappointed? Didn't I say that like it's just gonna be a guy that's just gonna be a guy?
But it is funny, and I said this to you guys that on another podcast. Well, I'll just say, like, the Masked Man show, David Shoemaker, like, they were saying, what if it's Christian? Ha ha ha. And then talking about other stuff. That's how I feel it's supposed to, like, and no shots at AEW. Like, I mean, I appreciate, like I said, like Paul White, Big Show coming in to do the role he's doing, but like I'm fine with Christian being there. He shouldn't be putting his hands on the belt and looking at like I don't care like that. Nothing could make me less excited for AEW.
Okay, wait.
than
Let me
Christian
say
doing
real
that.
quick. If they had done this exact segment and not had debuted Christian at Revolution, and just had him randomly walked out, that would be like a cool, like, holy
Yeah,
wait,
that
what
would
the
have been
fuck?
cool.
Christian's coming
Oh, right.
out?
Because you also get a pop from being like, and I would even be okay with it because it's like, oh, it's the new guy, and he's like, wow, what's this company all about? But coming out, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with that, Sharp. Yeah, I don't hate Christian. I just don't really feel like any kind of way about him. But I do
I actually
feel a
like
kind of way
Christian a
about.
lot. I just don't think that like it's worth them building up like, oh my god, you can't wait to see what Christian's gonna do. Like,
I think you
All right,
guys are
I went-
focusing way too much on Christian from WWE. If you actually focus on Christian Cage in the TNA
Sorry,
days, I'm
Christian
telling you,
Cage.
he's good. You could like he flourished in that role. I don't see him being like the main event big picture guy in this role, but I think he'll be a little bit better than what he was offering in WWE.
All right, so that was my anvil. I'm sorry, we went on way too long. And
so what's your anvil, Christopher?
Mine was it's kind of a bummer again, because I'm such a big Orange Cassidy fan, but the Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor promo, the wins got let out of the sale a little bit when they're saying like, oh, let's put these arcades around the ring, and I'm like, oh, cool, another gimmick match. As if we didn't get enough of those already. And then and then none of those gimmick matches really blew anything out of the water. To be honest, they all kind of flopped. And then Chuck Taylor is also kind of like a quirky, odd guy. I know that's kind of like his thing. I actually really like the Best Friends. I like Orange Cassidy. I thought the stuff Orange Cassidy said and did was just like funny, but it's just like at this time, like I watched the tag team match on the pay-per-view. It was okay, not too great. And now they're just gonna put another gimmick match. It's gonna probably be good of them smashing through things. Like who doesn't like seeing people getting smashed through like giant like stuff or whatever? That's just like kind of crash
I think
TV.
we can all agree we enjoy that.
Yeah, it's just like, but that's like crash
especially
TV,
if it's Miro smashing people through it.
Yeah,
you know?
like as long as like
Wait,
I'm assuming
where is
the matches will be fine.
How long is Trent out, by the way?
I think
like I think like 6 months or something. It was pretty bad. Whatever he had.
Kind of hope he's back soon. Not, I mean, obviously, no one likes to be injured or anything like that, and like Best Friends needs to kind of be a tag team. But like, I'm also hoping that Orange Cassidy doesn't lose like any steam getting off that Jericho feud and going into this Miro stuff now.
I think that's already happened.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I was. That's kind of what I was getting at. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm glad he was with Best Friends. That worked for a while because it's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek, like funny little like best friends, you know. But now, yeah, he needs to kind of do other stuff. But maybe I guess he's tied to Chuck Taylor for a while. I don't know.
I think he maybe needs it because like his shtick is actually very good. That's what's getting him over. But like it's like you don't want to oversaturate him being the lazy guy all the time. So that's why I kind of like that he's with Best Friends, as in like, okay, he has a little like some people to do some work. And then when he needs to go, he obviously can go. So that was like his big storyline with Jericho is like, can this guy even go? Obviously he can. But
yeah,
that's probably my anvil just because it was just another gimmick match that we don't need.
At Revolution, they did his gimmick well, where in the middle of the match, he did the kind of like the lazy kicks, and Miro like didn't respond, which is I mean, like I get selectively doing that. All right, sorry. Sharp, what was your anvil?
My anvil was a women's match. Absolute train wreck. Nothing more to say. One real quick thing though that I'll add that I forgot to add about the end is just that I thought about LAX or Proud and Powerful as faces versus heel FTR.
That's gonna be good. Match. That's gonna be phenomenal.
All right,
true.
So 1 to 10, let's go around. I'll say I gave it like a 6.5. There was just too much bad stuff in the beginning.
Yeah, I'm gonna undercut. I'm gonna say like a 5 because really half of it was fine. A couple good matches, but a lot of the show I was just not into it, but wondering like, what are they doing? What are they doing right now? So yeah, this is a bad one for me.
Yeah, this one wasn't too great. Obviously, hopefully they go hit the ground running a little bit more into next week after this debacle. I would give it a 6.5, just because I'm really excited for like the combination of like the MJF's new group against the Inner Circle, what Eric just said, FTR versus Power and Powerful, and you could even like do so many more combinations. Wardlow against Hager again, that was like a big fun fight that they had, and obviously MJF versus Jericho, and you got Darby and Scorpio Sky, which was a fun match to do, so that raised it a little bit, but 6 to 6.5, just the beginning, I was just like, kind of just, what are we watching?
I agree. Yeah, a little bit of a mess.
It's all right. It's all right. They'll be fine, and a lot of bright
spots. One on the chin.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't. Yeah.
All right. Sure. So unless anyone has anything to add.
Oh, no. All good.
All right. This was AEW Kicked Out at 2 Dynamite review, baby. See you guys next week.
Take it easy.